Um, JD Singh, I know you as a pretty amazing investor that's always looking for new things. Is that the correct introduction to you?
Yeah, so I come from a different background. I used to be a former surgeon at one point, a medical
Oh, yeah.
doctor. And, I wasn't too good at it. So I made a lot of mistakes to find a new job. And here we are, Fernando. No, I'm just kidding. So what happened was, medicine is as much as it's a great profession, there's a lot more to it than and what people anticipate. The thing with medicine is that the way I saw medicine was when I didn't see my son being born. My first son, older now, he's 12, going to 13, and I wasn't there because my patients came first. I was always in the operating room, and I took a step back and to see, what am I doing this for? Am I doing it for myself or my kids or what? So there's a time where you exchange your time for money, and then there's a time where your money should be working for you. And that's where I started looking at investments and stuff like that. I came from an entrepreneurial life family, and at that first time, I had bought my first hotel and during residency, and that one hotel was paying half of my salary.
Hey, JD.
Hey,
JD Singh.
Fernando, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Hope
I like this time, so I was expecting for it. I'm really happy that you were able to join.
and thank you for the invitation. Look
Awesome.
forward to speaking
Awesome.
to you today. So,
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Um, JD Singh, I know you as a pretty amazing investor that's always looking for new things. Is that the correct introduction to you?
yeah, so I come from a different background. I used to be a former surgeon at one point, a medical
Oh, yeah.
doctor. And, I wasn't too good at it. So I made a lot of mistakes to find a new job. And here we are, Fernando. No, I'm just kidding. So what happened was, medicine is as much as it's a great profession, there's a lot more to it than and what people anticipate. The thing with medicine is that the way I saw medicine was when I didn't see my son being born. My first son, older now, he's 12, going to 13, and I wasn't there because my patients came first. I was always in the operating room, and I took a step back and to see, what am I doing this for? Am I doing it for myself or my kids or what? So there's a time where you exchange your time for money, and then there's a time where your money should be working for you. And that's where I started looking at investments and stuff like that. I came from an entrepreneurial life family, and at that first time, I had bought my first hotel and during residency, and that one hotel was paying half of my salary. And I would say, I'm in the wrong field, And on top of that, I wasn't paying taxes. And whole behold, 15 years later, I left medicine and I'm doing this full time. My biggest thing is I'm mostly focused in commercial real estate, but I do multifamily, self storage, office, hotels, industrial flex space, and now into senior care. But a lot of that is also, I do a lot of development from ground up, and also in RV campgrounds. And my biggest thing is also affordable housing. But the way I see it too is that I do things different. I'm not your typical guy. I don't follow the herd. I'm the always the outlier. The way I see it, I like to do things different. For example, Fernando, I know you are in the multifamily space. And the thing is that with multifamily, which is a great business, one thing I can say about multifamily is that it's the only asset class where the government pays you to stay there, Section 8. And it's the only asset class where the government gives a government sponsored loan, like Fannie and Freddie. No other asset class. SBA, USDA, that's totally different. But that's why I like multifamily. It's very stable. You're not going to be rich overnight, and you're not going to be poor overnight. It's very stable. The thing is that you should look at other asset classes. The biggest thing too is, like I mentioned, I'm not sure a typical guy that follows the herd. How many times can you do value add? How many times can you change carpet? How many times can you paint, change carpet, paint the walls? Everything has an age. And then once you do that, how much can you push the rents? So you got to think outside the box. Why 2x where you can 4 to 10x? That's the way I see it. Because the thing is that I look at return on effort, not NOI. NOI is great, but I got to factor my time and my value of time and money. So if I'm going to a deal and I have to put a lot of time into it and my payouts X, it's not a deal for me. It's that plain simple. Look, and the biggest thing is underwriting the people. But when I'm going back to value add, let's talk about multifamily. There's so much more to value add. I've taken multifamily, changed the lot lines and made them into fourplexes. Okay. That was a home run deal due to the fact that people are putting 3% down. There's a program called FHA 203K. So I had, I'll just give an example. It was an apartment complex, 32 units. Each of them had 8 buildings, 4 unit each. All I did was just change the lot lines, took me 8 months. And people were paying over because they would live in one, put 3% down, and they'll rent those other three. So if you're talking about 2x, that deal was almost a 6x within 1 year, doing things differently. Another property, multifamily, 74 units. And it was in a destination market, and we bought it for 4. We could have stabilized it. We stabilized it, and after 2 years, and our broker says, "Hey, we can sell it for 6 million." I said, "Okay." Well, I'm in a destination market. I said, "You know what? How can I make more money profiting off of that?" So I said, I'm just looking at it, and I said, I'm going to sell this for more. So what I did was, I'm very persistent. So I said I'm going to sell this as a timeshare. So what happens? I got 64 parcel units on this property, and instead of selling it for 6 million, I sold it as a timeshare. I sold it for 14 million. So what I'm trying to say is there's so many ways of doing things. There's so many examples. Currently, I had a project here too. Is south of the border, there were a lot of people coming to the United States, and a lot of the times in current environment, they don't know where to house them. What I did was, okay, how do I maximize this and give a person a place to live? So there was a town, south of the close to the border, and so they were placing a lot of these refugees into the school gymnasiums and city buildings. And so what happened was, I went on Corexy. My plan was I'm going to look for the oldest listing there, made sure there was a mom and pop, okay, and made sure that my plan was to find something that had no financials. Well, happily found a very old listing. It was a great couple, senior couple. Their kids didn't want to take over the property. 51 unit, nothing spectacular. And I said, hey, look, their rent roll was a pen and pencil paper. Okay, I couldn't take this to the bank. I said, bingo, this is what I was looking for. And so they're doing things the old way and didn't have no financials, P&Ls. So I said, you know what? Look, guys, I know I cannot finance this, but I'm very interested. And I told them, look, why don't you guys sell or carry it for me? And the biggest thing too is that you won't pay taxes every year. I'll give you a lump sum. Your tax basis will go down. While I was doing that, I was talking to the city, and then I told them, hey, I have this facility, and I know you guys need a place to stay. They said, "Hey, when can we send them?" I said, "Look, let me close on it." And the biggest thing is that I want to master lease it to you guys. I don't want to be a landlord or anything. You take it, you take care of it. I don't care what happens. It's yours for 10 years. While I was doing that, they didn't know what I was doing because until I didn't get that approval, I was not going to close on it. I got that done, and here we are. A few months later, I'm just getting a monthly check for doing something simple. Look, I'm not a smart guy, but you just got to think outside the box. Sorry, I went off tangent here, but I was just trying to say is there's more to multifamily than what we're pursuing. The other thing too is that, you know, coming from a hospitality, I grew up in the hospitality business. Hotels were a niche. But one thing we always forget in multifamily or any other asset class is the people behind it. Okay, the people who are behind those tenants, we forget about them. Look, Fernando, me and you will be talking right now, and you will forget everything I said, more likely. Okay, but there's one thing you'll remember about me: how I made you feel. And that's the same aspect that I went to my patients and I went to my tenants. I make it a home. Okay. A lot of people say, hey, asset management's tough in all different um, asset classes. Well, if you make it a home for someone, that's 90% of the work you need to do. How I break down making a home for someone is doing simple things. A home is where a family start, where kids are born, those treasure moments, everything. When I make it a home, there's a few things I look into. Number one, the biggest thing is, making a community. I do a Taco Tuesday once a month. I make a nice kids amenities. But the biggest thing I do here too is, and I keep this part of my KPIs for all my asset managers or property managers, is I make them knock on everyone's door every 2 weeks, whether they answer or not. you know, Simply, hey, they're not going to, how's Billy? How's Bobby? Is there something that needs to be fixed? Why? Because I just want to know. I just want to make it home. Someone's listening to them. About a month ago, I got every 2 weeks part. I just find out what's happening. It's a lot of times they don't answer people at work, but I found out that someone's pregnant, and all we did was doing something different, is we gave them a $10 Target card. But it goes more than that. And she was happy, she loved it. She loves it. The reason why I do that is a bigger plot here, is that when those guys move out, I don't, if they have to move out, I have to change the carpets. I lose few months of rent because I got to do it. The bigger play here is there's two things. I have no turnover, but the biggest thing is where everyone's flatlining, my rents are increasing 1 to 3% because I made it a home. People don't want to leave their homes at end of the day.
Yeah.
Small things like this, you know, and it boggles me that these are simple practices. And if there's a property manager that doesn't want to do it, there's a dime of a dozen there, because the thing is that I'm not there. I expect my property managers to be upfront, take care of problems. And the biggest thing too is that I don't pay some of my assets. I pay them on not on I pay them on gross and NOI. If their percentage is 5% management fees, I'll pay them 2.5 on gross and 2.5 on NOI because they gotta have some skin in the game. Or I'll pay them higher. And that's why you gotta have a performance kind of a bonus. And also too is that in some of my other properties is I have other businesses. How do I add other? Because again, your tenants are there already. I add other, some of my former or current. I used to have UPS stores. I walked into one of my properties, and she was on her phone, and it's a big complex, so we need a sales manager full time there. and she's on her phone, and I'm saying, okay, I'm paying you salary here, and half the time she's not doing much. So what I did, I got her notary certified and changed that into a UPS store. People love it. They do their Amazon returns, they buy their sundry stuff, they want to do notary, stuff like that. So after paying her, I'm making $7,000 a month. Just having a small, simple amenity, having cell phone towers, a portable car wash you can put in the corner. You can make $1,100 a month, or simple things like, if a lot of these tenants have so credit. So if they pay me, I report it to the credit bureaus. I charge $30 to $50 a month, and people love it, just to bring their credit, build their credit up so they can get higher and better financing. So, my long answer here is, I like to look at things differently.
No, definitely. And you said something also about your energy, man. Every time we talk, yeah, you have this energy that you bring. You have this interest to help. So yeah, what you said that you applies to you to your properties is exactly what you transpire when we talk. What I'm interested, well, you already said that you come from a doctor background and a family that already you already had that entrepreneurship. Is it where you learned these things, this mindset of thinking about the experience that you can provide, and also how did you develop this different view of thinking things out of the ordinary?
Yeah.
Did you have any idea where how you started? Where do you come from that?
Yeah, so I have to give it, I grew up poor, to be honest, so I didn't have all the luxuries, so I had that, energy, hey, I need to do more. But the thing is that here is medicine has changed me a lot. You know,
In what
we
way?
always sorry, medicine has changed because, due to the fact we forget the small things in life. Okay, people have less, but they're happier. We have so much, and we're still chasing our own tail out a dale. Fernando, let me ask you a question. What's the most expensive real estate in the world? Take a wild
The
guess.
most expensive? Uh, I don't know.
The most expensive real estate in the world, and their studies on this, is the graveyard. Why I say that is
Oh, okay.
the $1 billion idea that was never pursued, the woulda, coulda, shoulda, things that, people, they're scared or feared, and it comes down to simply, I saw kids dying. I had my patients die, and sometimes, our my mind plays tricks. Were there things that I could have done to implement their better healthcare or service or a procedure I did? And the thing is that, like, my mindset is, I don't quit. I will figure it out. Like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're already right either way. You know,
Yeah,
so my mindset is, if like, for example, if I'm going to sell something for 1 million, why not I go explore how I can make it 2 million? So just trying every way. Look, I like to fail faster. I fail now. If you hit rock bottom, only thing you can see is, the top. So look, I failed through success, and I like to fail faster. I made a lot of mistakes, but now, when I go into a deal, I like to have two ways out: a plan A and a plan B. And when medicine, it comes the same thing, is we always planning for a plan A and a plan B. There's some outcomes that we can't change, and the thing is too in medicine is that it humbles you, because you see people dying, and we have more than we deserve. Okay. And the biggest thing is, we're in this country, we're 90% better than rest of the world. And my kids are thinking about the next iPhone, where people are thinking about the next, their meal or shelter. And we have first world problems, and it just tells you is that, what? I have this opportunity, and someone that makes an excuse they can't do it, I laugh at them. Honestly, I do. Why? Because you have everything you have in this country, and and when you say you can, it's not a country problem. It's the mindset problem. And the biggest thing in real estate or anything you do is your mindset. And if you can conquer your mind, you can conquer anything.
True. Yeah. Um, and which transformation you saw in yourself in this journey?
My
Besides
transfer.
being humble, because it's clear that your
Yeah,
mindset of being humble and being there, it's clear. But
yeah. The transformation happened for me, honestly, Fernando. Is I would say there's a few things. Being a doctor, you become a rock. It's like a assembly line, surgery and surgery. They come, they go, they come and go, and you become numb and a rock. And I used to bring that back home where I was just if someone died, it would encompass me. It will eat me inside. Hey, this guy was alive 2 hours ago. Now I see this guy dead or X, Y, and Z. Complications, and it made me not a good person. And just looking back, I'd come angry, and that's when I said I need some financial freedom and financial, freedom from time as well. And that's where I started exploring this because I didn't want to be consumed by this job. The thing is, a salary is like a drug your employer gives you to forget your dreams. So my dream was also to be passive, have passive income coming in, and the every day going to that job was becoming a drug for me, and I was forgetting my dream. So I went cold turkey, and I learned from other partners, and they taught me, went under the winds, and I expanded learning from under them. And today I'm here learning. You have to have a growth mindset. I'm learning every day. There's this business, you can't know everything. But that's when the transformation was, when I was not being a good person. So overall,
okay, the stress, right? The stress, as you said,
yeah, it
coming
just
back
being
from
numb. I had
work.
no feelings. I had no feelings. It's like um, some days I'll be happy. Sometimes I was, mad because, I'll tell you a story. What happened is, in one of my, trainings in fellowship and residency is that, we're doing a complicated procedure here, and very complicated. Patient was there, and all we have this. My attending at that time, he was very comical, outlandish, always joking around and having music and doing the procedure, and as he was doing that, a phone call came in, and they said, "Hey, it's emergency. They need to speak to the doctor. The doctor in charge." And all of a sudden, he got the call and he was listening. He said, "Yes, yes, okay, okay." And then he gives the phone back. All of a sudden, he said, "Hey, can you turn off the music? I need to concentrate." And he was very quiet. And we're just surprisingly said, "Hey, what happened?" All of a sudden, his demeanor changed. And no, no, everything is all good. And he was razor focused. And a few hours ago, successfully completed the surgery. And he goes, and as he leaves, and then he was getting things, and he said, we're all asking, "Hey, are you okay? Everything okay?" Yeah, he said, "My wife just died in a car accident." And so this guy, his wife just died, and his only priority was his patient, nothing else. And that's where your razor focus is. Doctors have a tough job. I mean, even though the pay might be great, but it takes a toll on you. And I still remember that story, where his only mission was to for his patient, for the procedure. So some hindsight in medicine.
Wow, it's really important to know that you liked it, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
like it. And and that goes with any job. Because sometimes people forget that one third they're sleeping, one third they're working, and then the other third they're doing, your own personal stuff. So people work a third of their life. That's their identity. You got to sometimes come out of that and say, what am I here for? What am I doing? You know, I understand you need to work for money, but at the same time, you can't work yourself to death. So, and that's what real estate and other businesses. I mean, I'm not going to say every business is the same, but there's a lot of work that there. But once you build this well-oiled machine, it's very simple, and you can get a lot of passive income. And my biggest thing is too is just be in every sector of the business, from hotels, self-storage, industrial, senior care. And so you cannot just be in one asset class. Spread the love in other asset classes. And that's what I learned in COVID too, is I was very heavy in hotels, and hotels died. My other assets were surviving, and as well too. So that's what happens in today's market, is just things are very expensive. Opportunities are there, but like, again, I look at, again, things different. There's there a lot of these I should say lenders. I'm not going to mention names or anything, and a lot of them had bridge debt, and they have kicked the can so far, and now they got to face these. The reality is now is whether they keep the asset, get rid of it, or, but there's simple things that I've been doing is, how do banks make money? Banks make money by lending. Okay. If they don't lend, they don't make money. Very simple. But after 2008, what happened is every bank every quarter has to do a stress test. If they have a lot of distress on their balance sheet, they can't lend. So, everyone says, hey, if there's a lot of, banks want to get rid of assets immediately. And so the whole thing is they need to get rid of these assets so they can start lending. So, today's in general, and every jurisdiction is different in the States, banks have three opportunities to get rid of these assets. Okay. The first thing they can do is take that asset, distressed asset, sell it to another bank. Well, no other bank wants to buy a distressed asset, because if they buy it, it goes on their balance sheet, they can't lend. The second thing is that they can do is take that asset and have it broker through a broker, Marcus Millichap, CBRE, whatever. But they're not there. They don't like that either, due to the fact that they're not asset managers. They're not there to come fix toilets. And there's receiverships and stuff like that. And the biggest hurdle right now is a lot of those deals are not transacting due to the fact that interest rates are so high, cutting to cash flow, and raising equity has been tougher. So these properties stay longer on their with the banks. So they don't like that option. And the third option is very interesting, where you can make friends with the asset portfolio managers. These are the people from the banks who are in charge. Hey, what do we do with these assets? Do we get rid of them? Do we sell them? Or, do we partner with someone? So a lot of banks have been looking into this, where if you're on their developers list or on their investors list, they will take that asset, internally refinance it as new debt, take an equity share and hand it off to people, pennies on the dollar. And I'm talking about mid-tier banks, okay, not the big boys, Bank America, Chase, or not the small chartered or community banks or credit union. They tend to be more conservative, So the mid-tier banks, and that's where a lot of the deals are coming. That's where, don't make friends with the brokers, make friends with the banks. That's end of the day. You want to be friends with the bank, they have the property. And the biggest thing too is I like to make friends with banks due to the fact that debt is cheaper than equity. Why give equity? And if you can capital stack engineer a deal, and that's where my focus is, and that's where, if someone has a superpower, my superpower is creative financing and deal lender relationships. There's times where I put no money down, or I got money back from the bank. Doing a lot of strategic, or strategic financing and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, whether you do a syndication or a JV, I want more of the piece of the pie because I'm doing more extra leg of the work. So, there's times where I got money from the bank, I put zero money down. Again, I like to maximize debt to a safe level. I know over levered where I get cheap debt. Debt is cheaper at the end of the day. I mean, there's some properties where I've structured a deal where it's a 70-30 split, 70 for the GPs and 30 for the LPs. And LPs are still 3x in their money. There's things called subrogation agreements where it's a seller finance that doesn't go onto the on the title. It's a promissory note. I mean, there's so many creative ways you can deal structure too. Is looking at the deal and creative ways of structuring it. So yeah.
But were you always like that, or that happened as you learned about it?
So
You were you always like creative? Were you always had this creative side?
yeah, yeah. So creativity is my biggest thing, and and you'll
Nice.
laugh. Yeah. So I'm very creative. Every deal, I like to bring less money down, maximize debt. There's deals where for example, is where, let's just talk about subrogation agreements. So when you do this kind of agreement, it's a promissory note. That is a promissory note. Like, let's say that you have a seller financing. You got let's just say you got seller financing at 30% from the seller, okay? And I got a bank term sheet for 80% LTV, okay? So what happens here is, and I know a few banks, what happens is, let's just say I create the seller carry as a promissory note against the entity that's going to buy it. So basically, the LLCs that's buying it, the seller is going to carry a promissory note. Okay. So if I don't pay him, he can foreclose on that LLC. Okay. So he's protected. But the biggest thing, it does not get recorded on title. So if it gets recorded on title, it hinders your DSCR scores. You kind of follow? So in this instance, I got 80% of these of term sheet loan to value. I get 30%. So in essence, I got 110%. Do you understand? So that delta of 10% I got back from the bank for my capex. Strategy one. There's so many other. I do a lot of development. I can get you member equity. So a lot of the times is I can get materials as equity from China, from other places, because they want to invest in the United States. So I have lenders that would use that as your capital stack. So you can walk into development with zero or hardly any money down because the materials is your down payment. Another way of structuring deals. And there's so many ways, affordable housing. I'm doing you can do hotels to multifamily, especially here in California. There's a big demand for that. Affordable housing. We're about 5 million short in 2024. We can't build enough homes. And whether people say, oh, don't invest in blue states, red states, I made more money in the blue states than any other state. Why? You got to be smart about it. Okay. People need a place to live at the end of the day. We have 5 million homes short. It costs more to live in a house than to rent. So people want to rent. And what's happening is the demographics change. Class A people are staying in Class A. B's moving to C, C's moving to D, D's moving to mobile home parks and weekly hotels. So you're seeing a trend of the demographics finding more affordable housing. And the thing here, whether in your blue state here, if you have a business plan, it doesn't matter where you're at. You execute it, you'll make money everywhere. So I don't care, red state, blue state, anything. if the numbers work and you have a business plan, you can make money. And the biggest thing here in affordable housing is And like I said, people need a place to stay, and it could be look. Let's just take an example from California versus Florida. Or let's just say your neck of the was Washington, blue state, which is fine too. Or we go Florida. In Washington, I won't buy 100 units. It's very expensive. I'll buy a 10 unit. Or I can go to Florida and buy, let's just say, a 50 unit. Let me tell you this: Home Depot in Washington and the Home Depot in Florida are about the same price, correct? I assume the value adds the same, correct? The value add
Probably,
Home
yeah.
Depot
I
there
don't
is
know.
probably the same. Materials are going to be the same. Cost wouldn't fluctuate too much. But here's the difference. In Washington, I can bump up the rents $800. In Florida, I only can bump it up $100. So that's your difference. I want to do it in rent control. I'll do it in a really, more friendly for landlords. But again, red state, blue state, that to me is a joke, And the people are making money. BlackRock, states here buying stuff, California, blue states, New York. It doesn't matter about the real estate. You just got to be smart about it.
Mm,
And the
really
thing,
nice.
yeah, and buy box. I laugh at, hey, what's your buy box? I don't have. You cannot be narrow. Very narrow in your search. The way my box is all 50 states. Anyway, if the deal makes sense, I'm there. It passes my few rules, but you cannot have a narrow search, and just stick to multifamily or self search. Look everywhere, learn every business, you know, and that's the way I think, but people think, like, I was, it's all about specialized knowledge, and everyone can underwrite, everyone can uh, get a loan, everyone can do asset management. But the thing is, you need to know the specialized knowledge. I'll give you an example. In Texas, I get away. Everyone complains about insurance in Texas and property taxes in Texas. Texas has the highest property taxes. I start laughing. If there's a way, if there's a will, there's a way. You know, like I said, I'm going to figure something out. If every county is different, and if you put a beehive on top of any commercial asset, let's say multifamily, put a beehive, and you get a letter from a beehive guy that he put a beehive on top of a roof. Bees don't harm no one; they stay on top of a roof, and that he will collect the honey, whatever, every month. You can contest your property taxes anywhere from 20 to 40% of your property taxes, and you just got to contest. So what I'm trying to say is this: there's a lot of specialized knowledge people don't know. And so, like, you can save. In the past, I've saved 20 to 30% just putting a beehive. Simple, not nothing too hard. People go in. Oh, I'm gonna cut. We start cutting the expenses and stuff like that. First thing, my thing is there. Okay, what can I do without what can I cut that doesn't harm my tenants or amenities? People say, are we going to start cutting this, that? Because at the end of the day, those tenants are paying your bill. And I had mentioned before, they're your community, they're your home, that's their homes. When I do renovations on these, I do it outside in. Outside looks great, then I work inside. I don't go inside out because the first place thing people see is the curb appeal, you know so again, look outside, look look beyond everything, and like I mentioned, there's so many ways of looking at things and how things are perceived. So, but there's opportunities coming in the marketplace, and there's never been a better time, especially commercial real estate. But I think if interest rates go lower, it might create this new bull run. But there's so much you can push down the road. So people still rent. People still need rent, places to rent, and at the same time, affordable housing is the biggest push right here. The like title insurance. Fannie and Freddie have been making title insurance on commercial and residential optional, because a lot of times title insurance do such a great search that their claim is 0.001%. And so, but there's bills in the Congress where, hey, make it optional due to the fact that it makes it more affordable. But there's just so much lobbying out there. So there's so many programs out there like finance. FHA 203K is a program where you buy less units, less than 4 units. You live in one, put 3% down, 100% rehab cost, and 3% at 640 credit score, 50% debt to income ratio. But people don't know about these programs. And so again, it comes down to the specialized knowledge, learning, going to the thing is, my thing is, it's great to go conferences, especially masterminds, these educational. But you got to go to conferences where all the big boys go, and that's where I like to surround. What are they doing? How can I learn from these guys? What's their secrets? So that's where I've been learning from the best of the best, and having a growth mindset.
Learning, networking, perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And,
looking
please go.
good. No, good.
I'd like to go back a bit for one thing that you said about. I, it seems that you said the biggest struggle we could have is not following our dreams and pursuing them. What was your biggest struggle to reach what it seems that you are in a momentum of all the things?
Yeah, my biggest thing was analysis paralysis. Overlooking. Oh, this something would happen. Oh, that could happen. By the time I overanalyze it, I never execute. I lost great deals. Okay. Sometimes you just go, honestly, what last year, what I used to do is, and I used to, I would get a property. I would throw stupid LOIs, let's just say it was 100,000. I would send a listed for 100,000, and I'll send LOIs for 50% off 50. I'll just mass. I would send 20%, but there was a trick there where from learning my analysis paralysis, I would throw these stupid LOIs, recently. And what happened is, a lot of the times they'll yell at me or never respond. Or 8 months later, they'll call me back. Hey, are you still interested? I know you put this here. Would you be interested in this price? Number one, it was a marketing scheme. I just wanted to put there. And then the number two is they'll remember me, you know and I was just giving an example, is that I learned from that is, you just go, the biggest thing is underwrite the people. 90% of everything is the people behind it. I've seen, in my experience, I've seen a bad GP team and a great deal, never successful. I've seen a great GP team and a bad deal, successful. So you have to underwrite the people, the people behind it, the track record, have they done X, right? Have they cycle deals? Look, everyone says I have 5,000 doors, 10,000 doors. Great. That's a great experience. But how much free cash flow do you have? That's one question I asked, it doesn't matter how many doors you have, is how much cash flow, how many deals have you cycled? Have you lost anyone's money? And what's and so do not let things fool you by that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no. A thing that you just said now. So, would you prefer like 10 unit property, 10 unit, but 100% yours, other than a percentage of 100 unit deal that you are in a GV or a syndication?
So it's a very general question, but again, the numbers. If it's close to me, very close to me, and it's 10 units, yeah, I'll do that any day. But I also think too is that it's a team sport. I had properties where I ran, and it was too much. It became a full time job. So there should be a happy medium. Like a JV is a great. I mean, there's times where I've been in syndications where, overall, after you do the numbers, I'm only getting 1 or 2% of a deal. It all comes down to I had mentioned the return on effort. I underwrite my number of hours and my time. I have a value on my time and I guesstimate that. So that's my general rule is ROE, return on my effort and time. I'm not going to go on a
Yeah,
deal
that's
if it takes a lot
brilliant.
of time. So yes, I mean I love JV, I love syndications, and all those love the smaller properties. I love every deal, small or big.
Okay. No, I asked that because I just thought you would say that yeah, the 10 unit would give you more in terms of cash flow than
Yeah,
the
it
other
does.
one.
It does. Oh, absolutely, it does give you 10 years. If it's close to me and it's an easy flip, it's not heavy. Yeah, any day, anytime. I do have properties
But
like that.
but also maybe that becomes a full-time job as you said,
It
right?
could be. It all depends. Where it's at. Honestly, if you ask me what's my favorite asset class, it's triple net. There's nothing to it. You just get a check in the mail. You don't do nothing. Your biggest expense is probably, the parking lot, liability insurance, and landscape. That's it. Those are my favorite classes. There's nothing to it. They pay you on time. So that's where the biggest shift is, and that's what I've been looking into more triple net stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think a while back we analyzed something like that together. I sent
Oh
you.
yeah,
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 but I think the region was not that good.
correct.
Um,
Yeah.
what do you believe would be your true breakthrough now that you're on this moment that you are living now, this year, this month? I don't know. The breakthrough. What would be a breakthrough to you now?
In life in general or in business,
Yeah, yeah, whatever. Yes.
you know, um, uh, you know, um, it's a great question. The thing is that when we think about the future, it's anxiety. We think, oh, I'm going to get this, I need to get that, X, Y, and Z. When we think about the past, it's depression. If I could have done it this way, could have done it that way. My problem is I was looking at the future, I was looking at the past, but I forgot what I have right now.
Yeah, that's
Think
normal.
think at the moment I have, the opportunities I have here. You know, I'm breathing. I have 2 hands, 2 feet, great family. What else do I need? I have great people like you, great friends like you, Fernando. Those are the things that I forgot. You know, I want to live the moment now. Like I said, I have a son. He's 13. I only have 5 more summers with him, till he goes to college,
Yeah,
So time is going. And I've been, looking over there, oh, that opportunity, that opportunity, that opportunity. Oh, I could have done it that deal. If I done it, I could have gotten this XYZ. So the mind is always running, and I need to control my mind and thought and just keep it at one. Hey, what I have now, let's work with that, make it better. If it happens, great. If not, move on. So my biggest thing right now is living the moment and enjoying that moment I have.
yeah,
And
I agree. I don't like that countdown when I think about
yeah,
my son. It was so hard for me to learn as you. I think I learned to live in the present. I was exactly that. Oh, just always thinking in the future, and I was always anxious, and my mind was not in the right place. Oof,
yeah,
totally agree.
and I look at, one thing is I like to look into nature as examples. Is I was out of the country a few weeks ago, and I saw this swampy area, swamp and dirty frogs, everything there. But the out of that, in that center, close to the center, there was this flower, the lily flower or the lotus that comes out. I was just looking at it. The whole thing was, it smelled, it looked bad, but I was just looking, whether you call it God, energy, higher being, whatever. It took that swamp water, dirty water, But it took that water, and this beautiful flower came out of that. And I was saying, you know what? Roses is one of the most beautiful things, but the thing has thorns, and that's what life is about. You make, it's what your perception is and your perspective is. You could see a book that might be red, but to me it might be orange. So you can see problems or you can see puzzles. you know I like to see things as puzzles. I don't see problems. Hey, I gotta figure this out. I'm not gonna say I'm 100% perfect. Sometimes, I get knocked down too. But the thing is, it's always about the perspective and perception, and that's where your brain fools you every day. And don't let that make it a habit. And that's with real estate too. The perspective from the buyer and the perception from us as or the sellers and the buyers. So you got to look at both angles and feel it from their footsteps. And that's what I'm doing now is too, is maybe my brain is interpreting something that is not logical or reality. It's biased by my past experience or past biases in growing up whatsoever. So those are some perspectives that what they call soul searching, or I'm trying to be better at. Because every day, one thing is I try to be at least 1% better. Sometimes I'm -1%. Go back to the next.
Yeah.
But all I can do is try. All I can do is try. I try my
Yeah.
best. I win some, I lose some. But in the game of, especially in real estate, it's all about resilience. Who's the last man standing? People, and people I coach as well. And sometimes people have this FOMO. I didn't get this deal. I didn't get this deal. Well, it will happen one way or the other. Maybe it was not meant to be. Sometimes you got to leave things to chances, to faith. I'm a God fearing guy. Whether it's chance or something, when it'll happen, it will happen.
Yeah.
And there's times too where you have to, there's bad deals that sometimes you got to roll up your sleeves and figure it out. Look, it happens to all of us. I made mistakes, but now I'm a little bit more smart. Like I mentioned, I failed through success. And that's all you can do is try, try, try. And you know what? Be humble, because there's people out there think they know I have this, that. Well, great to you. Now I want to learn from you, because at the end of the day, nothing's guaranteed besides birth and death. That's guaranteed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you forget that. And all this comes back to my humble beings in being in medicine.
It is trial and error. It's right. It's what I tell my son, because sometimes he doesn't want to take a chance, and I said, no, you must. And
Yeah.
you bring there a brilliant point, which I'm gonna want to share with you. One thing that I have been learning on this journey here, on this conversations and learning with these amazing people like you, diversification in terms of go out there, put yourself out there. That will bring so much into what you have to offer and the things that you're going to do. That's one of the main things I can share with you that I noticed so far. Different people doing their what going after, let let me put it better, going after their dreams and their journey. When you do that, it's even more beautiful than if you stay narrow, as you said.
Very exactly. Look, I'm a type of guy. I share everything. My contacts. I don't like. I helped someone. Like that beehive. I helped someone else save a few 100,000. He said, "Hey, do you want to be in the deal?" I said, "Look, I wasn't from the beginning. It's not fair to you or me. So on the next one, let's do it together. Let's collaborate. So end of the day, it's the people, it's the teamwork, and let's do it together. People, share your dreams. There might be someone out there who knows it better, maybe looking at it a different way. And and I was telling my son, people make life too complicated. All you got to do, you know, take something, copy it, make it better, and sell it. And everything in life is sales. If there's one thing I can go back as to do is learn sales, emotional intelligence, charisma. Because look, as a doctor, I'm selling to my patient. As a lawyer, I'm selling to the jury. As a teacher, I'm selling to the kids what to do. Every day, you're selling something. And it's all about how you talk to people, how people respect you, the understanding people. Like, that whole community thing I was talking about and different businesses in some of the multifamily comes down to the basics selling. What do people need? How do you approach people? And selling, if there's one skill out there besides mindset, is selling, selling, selling. Everything's selling. Whether you're marrying your fiance, you're selling to her. Hey, I'm a better
Yeah.
person. It's
Yeah.
every day. We go to the store, they're selling you something. I don't know any moment where someone is not selling you something. Selling could be a product, mindset, something. Their persuasion, or your influence. That's what I'm trying to say is everything. Look, even I'll give an example. Let's talk about real estate. When I go into contract, majority of the time, I mean, it doesn't happen all the time. I like to meet with the sellers due to the fact that brokers kill deals and the biggest attorneys kill deals. Happens all the time. When I'm there with the front to face, I want to sign the PSA in front of them or on a Zoom or whatsoever, because it comes back to the human relationship. I like to tie it up because the biggest thing with sellers too is, it comes to psychology.
Yeah.
Everything is psychology as well. Selling, psychology. I put them in the same thing. When a seller is selling something and they're signing that PSA, they're thinking about their Lamborghini. Hey, I sell this, I can buy my Lamborghini, or I can take that dream vacation. So now I got them on the hook, and I'm there. Hey, so I understand them, because then if I know I'm in contract. Look, it happens sometimes, it doesn't. They don't want. I always like to retrade majority of the time, because I can read the sellers, their desperations and stuff like that. And, I start retrading. Once I read them, I said, okay, this guy wants to make this deal happen because he wants to buy his Lamborghini. So he's going to try whatever to do to make that happen. Okay. Because future mindset, anxiousness. If I retrade, he's going to get anxious. It comes down to the same thing. So psychology, selling, same thing. And the same thing comes too as also too is I share with the sellers my underwriting. Why? People say I'm stupid doing that. I want them to understand how am I approaching this deal. Where's the meat on the bone for myself? If I get bridge debt, whether I pay it cash, whether I get private money expensive, this is the way I'm going to make money. And if you sell it to me at this price, it doesn't make no sense. So that's why I share. People say, "Oh, that's no." Because they want a deal and I want a deal. There's a happy medium, and it come down to psychology. I gotta read the people. Before I don't like talking to brokers. I do talk to brokers, but I gotta talk to the sellers too. What's happening? I my first question to any deal. What's the story behind that deal? Why they're selling it? There has to be a reason. I want to know that. And then once you go in, you go through the crawl in and look at the whatever they're hiding, and then you start doing it. So basically it's selling, psychology, and mindset. Those are the three things, in conclusion, that I think makes you or breaks you in this industry.
That's brilliant. I 100% from what I've seen so far, and everyone I spoke. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so and also too is and I keep on mentioning this. Your money has to work for you. When you're sleeping, your money should be working for you. And so explore everything. I got into senior care, great business, but there's a lot I'm learning as well. But just do not have everything narrow minded. Expand your horizons, and you have all the tools in front of you. It's just you taking those tools and applying it. Execution, execution, execution is the biggest thing.
So, with that in mind, If you had to redo everything you did so far, how long would you redo? In which time frame would you do it, and how would you do it?
You know, um, that's a great question. I don't. If I had to go back, I wouldn't change nothing because it was meant to be. And but if I had to go back, honestly, I'm content with what I had. I made mistakes, great. It wouldn't make who I am today, so I would never change the person. The only person that I strive to be is the guy I want to be in 10 years. That's where my goal is to be in 10 years. Okay. And that's my competitions, me in 10 years. Okay. That's a different thing. If I had to go past, honestly, uh, the biggest thing is that I went through medical school. I went, 4 years of college, 4 years medical school, resident fellowship. And I could have saved that time and had student loans, but at the same time, I couldn't be where I am without medicine. Um, and Muhammad Ali said this. He who is not courageous enough to risk all will accomplish nothing in life. Without those things that I had done in the past, I wouldn't be here today. So, I wouldn't change nothing in my life. I am content. I made mistakes, but those mistakes is who I am today. It made me more resilient, made me a better person. So I'm not going to change nothing. It was meant to be, and that's where I'm at today. I have everything I need. I have more than I deserve in life. But I can tell you this is that my only competition is the person I want to be in 10 years. And that's what I strive to be every day, be a better person, give back as well too. And because again, like I said, two things guaranteed in life is birth and death, and once after I die, people will forget me. I'll be a picture maybe for my kids, but my grandkids will forget me. So what I want to do is, leave something out there. And I don't want to be remembered. Look, I don't want to be remembered for anything. I just want to, if I can change a few lives in my life, that's all I want. And but the biggest thing too is that, um, I'll give an example. Like, I know my value, and let me ask you this, Fernando. You've seen, you watch TV, you see commercials, you see a Honda Accord, or Toyota Camry, 0% down, come by, for this month only. You see those commercials, but have you ever seen a Rolls Royce or a Lamborghini commercial in TV?
Yeah, no.
No, because they don't need to show their value because people perceive that value. I don't need to go and tell I've fed 100,000 people, I have 10,000 doors, because I know what my value, humbly, I know what my value is. And I'm that Lamborghini. I don't need to say, I like to, play my cards right. People know my value because integrity is everything at the end of the day. Look, there's mistakes, things happen, but I strive to, just do what I need to do, and a simple man with a simple purpose, and spread the love out there.
No, exactly. Nothing wrong about where you are now, right? But don't be too comfortable. Don't
Yeah,
always look to thrive and learn and progress, right?
yeah. I have a growth mindset. Always thinking, hey, what could I do better?
A bit
Yeah,
each day.
yeah. And it comes down. I don't want to be in that graveyard, dead there, thinking that I could have done this, I could have done that. I don't want to be that statistic. If I'm going to try something, I'm going to try 100%. Happens, doesn't happen, I tried. That's all I can tell. I, you know, Whatever the mind achieves, the mind believes. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Whatever you think is going
Yes,
to happen.
it will happen. Exactly. It's
And,
so that's so simple and so powerful, and takes us too long to understand that. I think.
yeah. And your mind plays tricks on you too. Like I said, What you think is different from what I think. What's your normal is my normal is different. So we have different biases too. Now, look, read books, read things. The best thing you can learn as a tool. If I was younger, back to your question, I should have read more books. I was, reading books. Those guys are dead. They're giving their life formula there. And I was maybe too arrogant. Oh, that's not fun. That's stupid. Now I'm reading more, learning how I can improve myself.
We maybe
At
are
that time,
too ignorant, I think,
yeah, exactly.
when we are younger.
Exactly. And so now that's one thing I'm trying to strive, learn from other people, especially from books, uh, how to make myself better, and doing things differently.
Awesome. Because also I am in a side hustle that I'm building. I am doing things differently than what I've done. So I already know what didn't work because the output was not exactly what I was looking for. And now I'm doing differently. And I'm getting better and different results, which is also something that I learned and I'm putting in practice. So 100%. And um, that's one of the beauty of keep learning, right? And if you want different results, do different things. I heard that and I'm applying that and I see the results there. What success looks like to you?
Success to me is basically going back is who I strive to be in 10 years. That's my success. It's not a number. It's not I get this or get my Lambert, get a Lambert Ferrari, nothing material. Who I am in 10 years from now is what my success. Am I the same person who I am now, or am I different? Am I better? That's my success. So the thing is also too is that I have a family. I love my kids, love my wife and children. At the same time, they have their own lives too. I cannot live for my kids, and my kids cannot live. There's a point. I wish them all the best, and I cannot put a standard on them. All I want from them is to be good humans and to be good people out there. And the success can't be measured in my terms. Success is more of a mindset, where I am now and where I will be in the future. That's my success. If I'm here now and I'm worse off in 10 years, well, I wasn't successful. So my successful is the person I achieve to be in 10 years from now.
Beautiful, powerful.
Yeah, I mean, we make life too complicated, man. We make it too complicated, man. And
Yeah, indeed.
I like to think things simple, and gratitude is the biggest thing. I have two hands, 2 feet. Had the opportunity to be on your podcast. What else you want in life? I mean, when does it end? When does, like I said, live the moment? You know, what do we have right now? And live your life to the fullest. Maybe the next car. And people forget too, when you're in an Uber or a taxi, you trust that person to drive you to a thing. You trust that
Yeah.
pilot to fly you there. You have to trust the world. You gotta trust faith. You gotta trust. It's just a leap of faith. You gotta trust something. At least 1%. You don't know, that person walking down the street might shoot you. You don't know. You gotta trust everything.
Yeah.
So trust the moment. You never know. You could be in that plane or that boat. Um, you know, just don't forget the small things in life.
Yeah.
To us, it's second nature. You're in a plane, you expect to land there. Well, sometimes people don't land. Um, so you got to put everything. You know, you see, a tree grows from a seed, whatever, and that one match can light that whole fire. A small match from that wood. And the same thing is too is like a bamboo tree. It takes, once you put that seed, it takes 5 years to sprout. 5 years. But when that sprout happens, it grows close to 80 feet in 5 months. So, so what I'm trying to say is that everyone has a time, and if it's not your day today, try tomorrow. Because sometimes people say, "Hey, you just been planted," and your tree is about to come. You see the tree or you see the forest. So sometimes you got to see the forest, and sometimes you got to look at the tree, and just have perspective and everything.
What a great analogy of the match and burning the forest, because to, you can have the match, but in order for the forest to burn, you have to have the right conditions.
Exactly.
Be dry, be hot, and everything else. I don't know, oxygen. Yeah,
Yeah.
eventually it bursts.
Exactly.
Brilliant analogy. Yes.
Yeah, and it comes like a diamond. A diamond is the most sharpest thing out there. It
Yeah.
comes from a rock. you know
Wow.
so the only thing that diamond so only thing that can cut diamond is diamond, not a
Yes.
not a hammer or anything like that. So again, it comes down to a match and a tree analogy.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh oof. We went deep. We went deep, man. If I gave you a billboard, what you put in there?
A billboard, that's a
A
good question.
billboard.
Yeah, you know that's a good one. you know there's a quote that I like from Napoleon Hill. It says, successful people make decisions quickly and firmly and change them slowly, if ever. Unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change them often and quickly. So, what I'm trying to say is trust the path, and make decisions, execute. And there's tendencies, things you might have to change. So, life is not linear. It's up and down in every transaction. I've never seen a perfect transaction. Is, hey, make, just to sum it up, life can give you problems or life can give you puzzles. Pick the puzzles, solve those problems. If you look at problems, all you'll see is problems. If you see a solution, all you'll see is solution. There's a piece, a component in your brain called the reticular activating system. And this is where a lot of the biases comes is. If you see a red car, it's called the red car theory. If you see a red car, if you think about a red car, all you see is red cars. And that's the same thing as defeat your mind. And your biggest enemy is your mind. So basically, is defeat your mind, and it's all about mindset, and selling, psychology, and everything. And biggest thing, invest in yourself, 100%. Actually, I'll put that in my book: invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself. Yeah, it sums up. It sums
Yeah,
up. Yes. Phew. It's exactly what I'm trying to put together here with this uh, with these minds, which we are real people with real power, real lives, making it happen. That's the message I want to put it out there. We all can believe and achieve whatever we want. We just have to believe in ourselves.
yeah.
Putting that
I
with
mean,
that in our minds.
exactly. Like your mind is the biggest enemy. You got to train it and tame it. Um, that's the biggest thing, and that's where a lot of people get defeated. I get defeated at times too with my mind. Oh, if I could have done it, woulda, coulda, shoulda. If I done it that way, or maybe that's not. Sometimes sometimes you got to go with your gut instinct. Analysis paralysis. Sometimes you got to think about your heart and your gut and just execute. Sometimes there was deals where I just went in, never saw the property. And I just went in my intuition. Okay, we'll figure this. Whatever's going to happen will happen. I'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do that,
I
but
just
you got to be.
learned I just learned recently that first we communicate with our heart and then with our minds. So goes back to everything you said also when selling and communicating.
And the people think that, oh, you just get a contract, get it, buy it, and you're done. No, there's so many other things that go into any transaction you go. There's the small things. And like, again, the small things is what people forget. Oh, I got a deal. I own this now. Well, what are you gonna do with it now? People, oh, I got this deal. Great. Well, the hard work comes after that. And the biggest thing too is, and I can't emphasize this, and I've learned is, partnerships like a marriage, easy to get in, hard to get out. You got to date before you get married. And so, finding good people is also, you find the good people, stick to them, build your
Stick to
team.
them. Yeah.
I have a lot of partners. I just don't have one team. I have a lot of partners. They bring different assets. But the thing is that, find your superpower. What are you good at? Bring your value to other people. So, and once you find that out, you start spreading the word there, networking. People know what I'm good at, and that's what they bring me. Deal
Yes.
structuring, capital stack engineering, KP, and, sponsoring loans, finding the right bank, the track record. So everyone has a value. Everyone has a superpower. You just got to invest in it, bring it out, and just keep on talking and networking. And like, you are networking with your audience. Bringing great people out there.
Yeah.
And So it's not that hard. We just make it too complicated. All you got to
Indeed.
do, if you take the first foot, I would say 90% is execution. Once you push execute 90%, that's the hardest part. After that, the rest of it's easy. Put your first step in
Yes.
and leave it a
Eh,
faith, leave it a chance, or energies, vibration, whatever you call it. It'll take you from there.
Yes. 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 Speechless, man. I can't. I don't know. Well, books. You mentioned books.
Yeah.
What do you suggest? What do you suggest in terms of books or any resource of
You,
learning that you use and like?
you know, books can be anything. I'm reading a few books right now. Things I would recommend is influence and persuasion. That would, like, Robert Cialdini, how, the Robert Greene's book, 48 Powers of Law, um, the podcast, TED Talks. Even, I just spend, if I have some downtime, I'll go through motivational speeches or TikTok. I mean, I don't, not too heavy, social media. I like to stay, again, I like to stay quiet and do what I need to do, but I don't advertise on social media. I like to stay quiet. But learning from, 5-minute videos, 10-minute videos, you're learning something. A couple of days ago, I learned about coin, laundry machines and coin business. Look at this, implementing some things you learned here and put it in your businesses. Another thing, book I was reading is this one here. It's pretty. It looks like a very funny book. It's called "Busting Loose from the Money Game," and he thinks that I'm still reading it, but the game of money is also a distortion out there. It's not what we perceive to be. The money game doesn't have rules like baseball and football has rules. So it's very interesting. It's kind of different. Whether I recommend it, I don't know yet. But the biggest thing is, whether you look at Facebook, TikTok, I don't know, invest in yourself, read books, textbooks, read something that'll make you better. That's simple.
That's simple.
Or believing in yourself. One technique I'm doing right now is I put a mirror in front of my computer. So I look at myself to say, hey, you got this. So I'm talking to myself. I said, I don't know, maybe it's stupid, or I'm looking at myself, and sometimes you don't see yourselves in the mirror. I can hear my voice, but I'm not looking at myself. I said, hey, JD, you got this. We can do this. Or JD, how could we make done this better? So I have my board of trustees. I call in my head. So what I do is whether you call it affirmations, whatever, subconscious. I have a board of trustees. I sit on the board. Me and the people that I need to be in my board. It could be, I don't know, if I have a science problem, I'll put Einstein, kind of think how he would think, or talking, think inside your head, like maybe have God there. I don't know. Who are your people that you want on the board of trustees, because it's all about brainstorming and different perspective. And it comes down, and I keep on how perspective and perception, like again, my brain might perceive something, but my perception is something else. So just believe in yourself. Whatever the mind can achieve, the mind will believe. Whatever the mind believes will achieve. So look, you name me anyone. Everyone says, "Oh, it's too hard." Howard Schultz, the guy who started uh, Starbucks in your neck of the neighborhood, had no money to start it. Colonel Sanders started at the age of 67. Oprah was raped when she was a teen, and look at her now. Everyone had problems, setbacks, but people forget that. Name anyone in history, and I will find them they had some kind of problem. Everyone has gone through, but all we see is their successes. See, where people forget is, we fail, 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 fail. We can fail so many times, but that one success will change your whole life. We fail, 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 give up. But we're one away from that success. But people forgot what it took to get that success. And people forget all that other stuff. Okay. I mean, everyone successful has gone rock bottom somewhere. I'm growing blank here, the people at McDonald, Michael Jordan got kicked out of his own basketball team. The GOAT of football, Brady, he was on the sixth pick. It was not even number one pick. And how did these guys do it? It comes down to the mind. So there's so many examples. Oh, that guy did it. Oh, I can't do it. I'm not lucky. Well, if you're saying you're unlucky,
You are lucky.
like Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're already right. If you're unlucky, you're unlucky. It comes down to that red car thinking. If you see red cars, all you're going to see. If you're going to see problems, all you're going to see problems. And I changed my thing is, and I changed my vocabulary, and so the thing is that you asked me a question, about success. I'm always successful. Why? Why I'm being arrogant by saying this? Because why? Because I invest in myself. I try to make things better. I'm trying. I might have a problem, but I'm investing in myself to be a winner. I don't see problems. All I see is puzzles and solutions. So, and everyone is successful. You have everything. Again, you're 90%. You know what the annual average income to make? You to be the top 1% in the world, all you got to make is, I think, $1,200 a month. If you make more than $1,200, no, sorry, I think that $32,000. Sorry, 30. If you make more than $32,000 a year, you're the top 1%.
Whoa.
So you have everything just to be born in this country or reside, have some kind of, you're living here. Man, you're better than everyone else. The opportunities here. So don't make an excuse. I can't do it. Oh, this, that. And you're here. It baffles me. My look. I'll be honest, my kids are spoiled. They want everything. That's why you got to humble them, take them to the other side, third world countries. Look, guys, you have everything. And that's what you make out of it. And it goes with real estate. Anyone can do it. It's not that hard. But are you going to do it? Maybe, maybe not. Analysis paralysis. Just do it. That's what Nike, just do it. Figure it out. Half the times I just jump in the battle. I don't know whose side I'm on, but I'm in there. Let's figure it out. We'll figure something out. And that's the biggest problem I had was, I was getting a salary being a physician, but I would have been that drug would make me lose my dream. I went cold turkey. I left it. Those those many months were the toughest time. I had no salary, but I had to do it. I got to jump, you know? So sometimes you just got to jump in the middle of the fight and just make it happen one
Yeah.
way or the other. And
Change from can't to how can I do that?
exactly, exactly. I mean, we can talk about real estate, just real estate stuff is all the simple stuff. That's easy. I think real estate, commercial real estate, making money is easier. Making money is the simplest thing. How do you get there and accomplish is the hard part, and influencing your mind.
Yes. Yes, it is. JD, I'm speechless. I really thank you, man. It was even better than I thought because I know you. I know your energy. Uh, I know you're always there when I reach out. So thanks a lot. Thank you, man.
Yeah,
That's a powerful message, and I hope that a lot of people can get 1% of everything you just shared.
yeah. I mean, I was sorry I went off tangent with mindset and stuff like that because all those things, all of those things are needed to go into commercial real estate or real estate in general, and
Or anything.
or anything in life in general. And
But that's the core. That's what I wanted. You went exactly where I wanted.
yeah.
Forget for a second real estate. No, that's the mindset. That's what we need. What the tools? How do we build our tools, our brain to achieve or go after anything? No, spot on. Thank you.
No, absolutely. And look, guys, I'm here to help out anyone. If someone wants to reach out to me, look, I believe in you know it's not me being selfish. Like, oh, I'm not gonna give you my trade secrets. I don't care. The way I believe is, if I give you something, the world or faith will return it 10x. So I share everything. And if there's anyone needs my help, if you don't mind, I'll give my cell phone number, email. They want to
Well, it's up
contact.
to you. Go for it.
Look, I'm an open book. My integrity is everything. So my number is 916-749-0245. Or the best are call me or text me, or my easiest is also email. My email is jdsingh913 at gmail. That's my personal email. And guys, if there's something I can do to help, please let me know. And look forward, how we can help enrich each other's lives.
Yes, and success we all have. I believe that it's not a matter of no, we all have. It's again just a matter of perspective.
Exactly.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
No problems. Anytime, man. Appreciate it.
Sure. Take care.
Cool.
Talk
Take
to you
care. Thank
soon.
you. Will do. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.